Hi guys, it's me from my channel. Welcome back to another video. And today we are going to be doing another horror movie review. We're going to be reviewing a film called The Taking of Deborah Logan. If you like this format of videos, make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all our future videos. So The Taking of Deborah Logan is a found footage style film that came out in 2014. It was directed by Adam Condado and written by Condado and also by his brother John Condado. The film stars Anne Marie L. Johnson as Deborah Logan, a woman who is suffering from early onset dementia. And the film follows her daughter and her granddaughter, who are making a documentary about her life. But as Deborah begins to show signs of violent behavior, they begin to fear that she may actually be possessed by a demon. So the film is about demonic possession. It has found footage style elements and it was released straight to DVD. Oh, so it had a small budget. I first heard about this film because it is considered to be one of the best found footage films ever made. And I've seen a lot of lists putting it at the top of their list. And while I do think that this is a pretty good found footage film, I don't think that it's the best ever made. There's some other ones that I think are better than this one. It's not gonna win any awards for its acting, but the acting here is serviceable. The plot is the strongest part of the film. It is definitely a slow burn, but the plot keeps you interested, and there's some really great moments of suspense throughout the film. But then the final act kind of ruins all the goodwill that the rest of the film builds, because the last 10 minutes of this film makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. We have Deborah hanging upside down in her basement, which apparently makes her feel better. Why? Who knows? And she's like in this fetal position hanging upside down. And then out of nowhere, she just gets up and starts walking around. Like, where did she get the strength from? She was just hanging upside down. And then she takes a meat cleaver and she hacks off her own balls. And I'm like, why? I don't understand. And then she walks into her daughter's bedroom and she attacks her and then disappears. And then we find out that she disappeared into thin air and also reappeared in another room. And then later in the film, we find out that she may have gone insane. I mean, it's just such a letdown after the rest of the film built up to this very slow burn of her deteriorating mentally and physically. And then we get this crazy sequence in the end. So I'm not really a fan of the ending. I wish they would have stuck with the more grounded reality, because the film was building up to be a really great found footage film. And then the ending is just like, what the hell? I mean, I was confused watching it. I still am confused now thinking about it. So the film does have some really great moments, though. In the beginning of the film, there is a really creepy scene where Deborah is sitting in her chair and she's just staring directly into the camera and she doesn't blink. And she sits there for an uncomfortable amount of time before she finally looks away. And then later in the film, we find out that she was possessed during that moment. But that's the thing, we never know when she is possessed and when she isn't. So that scene is very creepy, and it establishes Deborah as being a threat. And then there's another scene later in the film where she's in her wheelchair and she starts moving the wheelchair on her own without anybody pushing it. And again, this is before she goes crazy and starts hacking off her own balls and disappearing into thin air. So this happens before that, and this is very eerie and it's really well shot. Now, another thing that I thought was really cool about this film is that they tried to make it look as realistic as possible. So there are handheld shots, but there aren't a ton of them. And I feel like some found footage films rely way too much on shaky cam, and it just makes the film look cheap. But I feel like the camera work here is steady enough that it looks like this is a real documentary. Also, none of the characters ever run out of battery on their cameras or forget to record something important. None of those things happen. And I feel like sometimes in found footage films, they'll use the fact that they ran out of battery or they forgot to record something as an excuse to not include certain things in the film. But this film has a pretty tight narrative structure and everything that we need to see is recorded. Another thing that I liked about this film is that we never see any demons or anything like that. It's all implied. So we hear noises in the background. We see stuff out of the corner of our eye. And it's just the suggestion of these things that's scary. And at the end of the day, it's way scarier if we don't actually see it because we can fill in the blanks ourselves. It's much scarier than if we actually saw the demon itself. I think it's much scarier if we only get suggestions of these things happening rather than seeing them outright. And also because this is a found footage film. We don't have nice crisp lighting, we don't have beautiful cinematography, we don't have perfectly placed camera angles. And I think that adds to the realism of the film, and I feel like that enhances the scares as well. But like I said earlier, the main strength of the film is definitely the plot. And while it does have some really strong moments, I feel like the last 10 minutes of the film completely ruins the film. Like I mentioned earlier, the last 10 minutes of the film makes absolutely no sense. So Deborah's character goes from being a slowly deteriorating elderly woman to someone who is super strong and can hack off their own balls with a meat cleaver. And I don't understand. And then she also went from being an elderly woman to suddenly having the ability to disappear and reappear at will. So yeah, the plot is the strongest part of the film, but the ending just doesn't make any sense, and it's not very satisfying either. The film isn't very gory at all. There's no blood, there's no guts, nothing like that. There's really only 2 jump scares in the entire film. So if you're easily startled, you'll probably be fine watching this one. Overall, I think this is a pretty good found footage film. It has a strong plot and it's well paced. But the last 10 minutes of the film makes absolutely no sense, and it completely ruins the film for me. So I give The Taking of Deborah Logan a 3 out of 5. I think this is definitely worth watching if you're a fan of found footage films, or if you're a fan of the demonic possession subgenre. But if you're not a fan of those things, I don't think that you'll like this film. So what do you guys think of The Taking of Deborah Logan? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all our future videos. I'll see you guys next time.